2, 1, 2.
Let's do this. This is a podcast from the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum.
Hello, I'm Ger Rowe from Bray Youth Service Drug Education and Prevention Project, working on behalf of the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum. In this 6th episode of our podcast series, we are taking a look at the issue of intimidation experienced as a result of drug debt. In 2016, the Dublin-based citywide drug crisis campaign produced a report called Demanding Money with Menace, a look at drug-related intimidation and community violence in Ireland. The report revealed that drug users or those in debt are the primary targets for intimidation, threats and violence. Mothers are the second most likely target and also the most likely family member to pay the debt. 76% of threats included a verbal threat, but 46% involved physical violence, and 32% of reported threats involved damage to the family home or property. There is often an escalation of violence from verbal threats to property damage, sometimes resulting in physical attacks on drug users and their families. Debts ranged from €500 to €5,000, and it was reported in focus groups that young people are getting into huge debt over weed and are then coerced into working off the debt by engaging in illegal activities such as holding or selling drugs, money or weapons, or transporting drugs. Anecdotal reports received from some of the support agencies that we have contact with through the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum suggests that Bray has not escaped the scourge of drug intimidation and that it can develop into a major issue for some of our young people, their families and the wider community. In an attempt to address the issue and to offer support to people experiencing drug-related intimidation and violence, the Gardaí have established the Drug-Related Intimidation Programme in order to offer a coordinated response to drug users and their family members who are experiencing drug-related intimidation. So how does it work, and where can someone seek help? I contacted Bray Garda station and spoke to Sergeant Brennan.
This is a podcast from the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum.
So Sergeant Brennan is my name. I'm the drug sergeant here for the Bray district, and I'd have a bit of oversight for drugs policing in the whole of the Wicklow division. The forms that drugs intimidation can take can range from something as simple as a text message or maybe a Facebook post or Snapchat or whatever the in social media medium is now at the minute, from people calling to your door would be maybe the top end of it, calling to the door, demanding money, threatening to maybe damage property or harm people. And as I say, it can be very, very subtle or very, very abrupt depending on the people that are involved.
So social media reports and general word in the community would tend to indicate that drug intimidation is on the rise.
Yes, anecdotally, yeah, it's I can't say if it's on the rise, but it's certainly something that we're aware of. Yeah, it would be something that we're aware of, yeah. Okay.
So what is the Drug-Related Intimidation Reporting Programme?
So it's a programme set up within An Garda Síochána. We've tied in with a number of agencies, most notably the National Family Support Network. And what it does is it's set up, every division now has a designated inspector that is appointed to deal with any confidential reports of intimidation over drug debts. Generally, here in Wicklow, I'd meet with that inspector and somebody who wanted to come in and make such a report. It's completely confidential. We'll offer advice and support if there is a criminal complaint that the reporting person wishes to make. We'll take that complaint, and that will obviously be dealt with professionally and confidentially as well. It's a completely confidential service. It can be formal or informal depending on the person who wants our help. We'll give them whatever help we can and whatever advice we can. So it's a kind of a central point to manage that problem.
How are young people in particular affected in this whole intimidation area?
I think it's fair to say that young people in it's not so much that the young person is affected, but more their family. Generally, if a young person is involved in it, tends to be the young person that has built up the debt for whatever reason, be it that they've developed a habit they can't afford, or they've they've maybe lost property belonging to somebody else. But it tends to be obviously, as a young person probably wouldn't have the means to meet the debt. It tends to be the young person's family and extended family where the intimidation then comes in, looking for that to be repaid on behalf of the young child or the young person.
So it's something that affects more than the young person. It affects
Absolutely.
the wider family.
In fact, I'd nearly say that it affects the family rather than the young person. Yeah, it tends to go above the young person, and it's the mammy, the daddy, the grandparent or the uncle, where somebody maybe sees that's where the chance of money or repayment will come from. So that's where they target. Yeah,
so they target where they're going to get some results.
Where they expect that there might be some money available. Yeah.
How does the programme then tie in with the National Family Support Network?
As I say, what we do within Garda Síochána is we'll meet the person who wishes to come and look for advice. It's not necessarily a complaint, it can be just advice, and we'll give them practical advice both for their own safety and how to deal with it. And then what we do is there's information leaflets and flyers that we'll provide to any person that comes to us under this scheme, and it has contact details there of the National Family Support Network and other networks that would be specific to whichever area you're in. Generally they'd be other groups who have members who have been through this and have come out the other side better for it, either by meeting with the guards and using this service, or just they can offer support on how to best deal with the problem that the person is dealing with. And as you know, a problem shared is a problem halved a lot of the time, even if it's just somebody to talk to.
One of the findings of the citywide research was that there is sometimes a reluctance to report intimidation for fear of violent reprisals from drug gangs. Sergeant Brennan says that the Gardaí in Bray and the wider Wicklow district are ready and willing to help.
So anybody in the County Wicklow that has such a problem, if they wanted to come and talk to Garda Síochána under this scheme, it would be to Inspector Fergal Harrington, who's in Bray, who's my inspector. He's my direct supervisor, and generally I'd be involved in that meeting as well.
So what would you say to somebody who maybe is experiencing drug-related intimidation but might be afraid to contact the Gardaí? Because obviously it's a very difficult situation to be in, and I suppose it would take a lot of courage to make that first move.
Yeah, it's you'd be afraid, as you say, to report such intimidation. You might be embarrassed or ashamed that you find yourself in that situation. And what I'd say is, don't be embarrassed, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. The guards on Garda Síochána aren't going to judge you or your family because of a misfortune that's fallen on the family. I'd encourage anybody to come to the guards and speak to us, at least informally. There's a lot of advice we can give you, there's a lot of support we can give you, there's a lot of support we can help you link into. And as I say, if you wanted to have a more formal interaction with us, everything is completely confidential. We'll ensure that if anything needs to be investigated, it'll be investigated to the fullest. We'll give you all the support. We'll refer you if somebody needs that particular kind of help. We can refer you to our safety officers, who will give you personal and property safety advice, practical safety advice. And to be honest with you, the one final piece of advice I'd give anybody is even if they don't want to come and talk to us, I'd say to them, don't pay. If you start to pay, you might find that it's very hard to stop paying. So my one piece of base advice to anybody is don't pay. And if you can find a way to come and speak to the guards, I'd advise that. It doesn't have to be a formal setting, it doesn't have to be a formal complaint, but there's services and actions that the guards can put in place to put you at ease and to ensure that the best outcome is there for everybody. Just
as you say that, I suppose that might be a difficult thing for people to come to terms with, because your initial impression might be, I'll pay it and get it out of the way, it'll be gone. But you're saying not to do that. No,
I'd say don't pay. If you do pay, well then more money will be asked for. Things get taxed. So the simplest piece of advice I can give, and I will always give, is don't pay. Don't pay. And if you can in any way come and meet the guards under this scheme, either formally or informally, and all the advice and services that can be offered will be offered, and it'll all be completely confidential.
And so where can people obtain more information about the programme if they feel that they are suffering from intimidation?
They can ring their local Garda station, or ring their, for example, here in Bray, if you're living in Bray, Gracetown, Kilcool, Newtown, you can contact Bray Garda station itself, and if that's where you need to make an appointment to meet the designated inspector, and then the other place is in the Garda station itself. If you call in, there's leaflets with all the main information, and on Garda.ie there's the leaflet can be downloaded there, and again it has all the phone numbers, all the details are on Garda.ie as well.
Sergeant Brennan's final piece of advice is to talk to the Gardaí in Bray in confidence if you or someone in your family is experiencing drug-related intimidation.
I think it's important to go back to a previous point where we spoke about people finding it hard to come to the guards, given the nature of what this is, drug-related intimidation. I'd encourage anybody that if you do have a problem like this to come to the guards. As I say, it can't be overstated, it will be treated in the strictest confidence. We will give you all the advice we can and all the support we can. It's good advice, it's good support, safety support, practical things, and say a problem shared sometimes takes half the pressure away, just getting it off your chest. And I found that in the past that it has helped people just to be able to talk to somebody. Maybe then you realise that you're not the only person going through it, and there is help out there and there is support out there, and I think that's important for people to understand, not to be afraid to come to the guards. They don't have to come and make a criminal complaint, they can just come and get advice and support, and we'll give them whatever we can.
This is a podcast from the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum.
You have been listening to Garda Sergeant Ger Brennan from Bray Gardaí talking about the Drug Intimidation Reporting Programme. We would like to thank Sergeant Brennan and his colleagues for their help in producing this podcast. The contact numbers and sources of information about how to seek help regarding intimidation threats are on the screen now, and the Gardaí at Bray Station are always available to help. I hope you found this podcast informative and that the information provided is useful to anyone suffering from drug-related intimidation. I'm Ger Rowe from Bray Youth Service. Thank you for listening.
This is a podcast from the Bray Drugs Awareness Forum.